What's going on, guys? And welcome back to another episode of Stereo Therapy. I'm your host, Lisa.
And I'm Justine.
And if you're new here, this is the show that showcases the importance of music and mental health. Remember, if you want to help support our little show, all you have to do is follow us and subscribe. And if you really, really love it, leave us a positive rating and review. All right. Justine, we are talking all things Alkaline Trio and From Here to Infirmary. I did not mess that up. I was a little nervous because sometimes when you just say this album title, I don't know, I always fuck
I
it up.
always ruin the name of album names and songs because I'm just not used to talking about them out loud. You say it out loud and you're just like, I forget what half of it's called.
Yep. So I was like, all right, we got through that. But yes, we are talking about this. We're so excited about, but how are you doing, Justine? I know you had a good night. Well, you really had a good night, but I know
Well,
some parts
mostly.
maybe. Yeah.
Mostly a good night. So I went and saw Alanis Morissette with Joan Jett last night. The show was amazing and wonderful. The bad part is I lost my wallet and I had to cancel all my cards, and I'm gonna have to go to the DMV next week. But
Oh, no.
and plus I'm in a lot of pain today. I am like it's rough. I'm exhausted. I'm really in pain, but it's fine because the show was amazing. Those two, which we've covered before on the women's episode,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'd seen Joan Jett before, but so I already knew that she is great live, and but Alanis is amazing and just wonderful, and oh, I was just so happy to be able to finally see her. So all the bad things that happened, it's worth it.
Oh, I know. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh, poor Justine." But at the same time, I was like,
I
"At
was
least
being
you got
silver
to
lining
go."
though. Silver lining, I was like, I did not lose my keys and I did not lose
Mhm.
my phone. Those two things are more important. Those aren't really as easily to replace. So I was like,
Yeah.
it's fine. I can cancel cards. It's fine. And my license was going to be expired in November anyway. So I was
Oh,
going to have to
so
go get that
yeah.
done anyway. So it's fine.
Like, I'm so excited to have out this episode because it actually, like, I'm not even gonna lie, it branched off. Sometimes, like, we wanna mix up the episodes, but me being on Emo Social Club this past week, which it comes out, well, it'll be out by the time this episode's out, but I got to be I'm just gonna say it because it's not a spoiler. I'm on the episode highlighting Bayside, and while we were talking about Bayside, obviously Alkaline Trio got brought up. So, I had to say about my love of that band, and as did Brian of Emo Social Club. And it was like, you know what? We talked about Good Morning, but we haven't fully, like, they didn't have their own episode. Like, we talked about
Yeah.
them in an episode. And I was like, you know what? To break up some of the other episodes, let's just do it. But I was just talking about Chicago, and it's like, just like, I need to have this episode on here, and we gotta talk about Alkaline Trio, but it's also because, Justine, you brought up this record because I was like, "What do we do?" Because we talked about Good Morning.
Yeah.
So, this will be so much fun to talk about Alkaline Trio, and we have to say too, before, like, we'll go into the background of it a little bit, we are wearing the same shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twinsies.
It's, yeah, I had to cut mine, like, old school, like, DIY, but,
Hers is better. It's better that she cut it.
somehow it still fits. I don't know, it's been a couple years, I think, or maybe a year. I don't know, but it still
I
fits,
think
so
it's
I'm
been a
happy.
year,
I was
but
a little
it's good now.
nervous. But so
But
this
yeah,
record.
Alkaline Trio made special merch. What was
Oh,
it?
yeah, we should
I think
talk
it was
about.
last year.
Yeah.
Um, for all the proceeds to go towards women's health and Planned Parenthood and stuff like that when Roe v. Wade got overturned. And so they made a band shirt. If you haven't seen it, it's got Alkaline Trio and then it has the female symbol on it in pink. And both me and Lisa immediately went and bought it because we're both big Alkaline Trio fans, but we also obviously care about women's health because we're women. So it's it's
Oh,
we definitely
yeah.
wanted to make sure we got something that went to both important things for us. And so we both got this shirt.
Yeah, it was a must. It was a must buy, I remember, and it just made me also, like, members of Alkaline Trio, like Derek, I know, who's no longer in the band, he was a big person because he was still in Chicago. So he would go to like the Women's March in March.
Yeah.
Just wonderful people. So, like, of course, we need an episode talking about that. And, like, what better time to have a shirt like this, I feel, with everything going on. So, oh my gosh, this record came out in 2001. And I saw on Wikipedia it was the third studio album, but I disagree. I think it's the fourth one because there was God Damn It, there was Self Titled, and then I know there was another one. So I disagree. So whether you want to say it's the third or fourth studio album, whatever you want to say, you can say that. I don't agree with Wikipedia. I kind of looked at Spotify, so I'm saying it's the fourth. It's interesting because Adam Willard filled in on the tour for this record before Derek Grant joined. And that is so interesting because now Adam Willard is now back in the band with Derek Grant stepping away from Alkaline Trio duties. So that just is something funny too, because of the fact that look at the timing of that. And then he's now back in the band. But something also funny about this album cover is the fact that the band was not happy with the cover art. And Matt Skiba was basically like, all right, we'll take this picture and just make the eyes go away. And we had the cover to this record, which is them on the cover with their eyes out, kind of like demonized or whatever you want to call it. So it's pretty cool to like think about that and the fact that that's where they were at with that. This record was also mixed by Jerry Finn, which so many know from the Blink-182 days, but I know Alkaline Trio really respected Jerry Finn, and he also worked on the record Crimson. Pitchfork labeled this one pure musical junk food, and I don't rely on Pitchfork, but if this is junk food, I'm all for it. I disagree with that, but
I
so
tend to disagree with most ratings. I don't really go by reviews. I don't
yeah,
trust them.
no, I don't.
You know what I mean? Movies or music, I'm always like, if this seems interesting, I'm gonna watch it or listen to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, sorry, Pitchfork, but
Yeah, sorry, Pitchfork. But that's just me.
so I mean, not that I need any validation from Pitchfork either, but Justine, I think we all know, but I would love to know how has Alkaline Trio made an impact on you, and I guess first impressions of this record.
Yeah, so I had touched on it before because we also have a 20-year episode where we talk about Good Morning. So if you have not heard that episode, make sure you go and check that one out. But they are very important to me. I always gravitated towards bands who had a darker aesthetic since being a goth kid and all, of course. And I always considered Chicago basically my second home. My dad's from there. I would go up there to visit my grandparents, and my aunt and cousins and everything used to live up there as well. None of them anymore, but I also had to go up there for doctor's visits. So Chicago, I always felt like was my kind of like my safe zone. So the fact that they're a band from Chicago also just really resonated with me because it's almost like I'm not really from there, but in my heart I'm kind of from there. You know what I mean? So it's like if a band I like is from there, that just kind of adds to the appeal, you know? My introduction to them was with Good Morning. So originally my first album with Alkaline Trio is with Good Morning. And then somebody made me a copy of From Here to Infirmary and was like, you need to listen to it. Like you like the other album so much, you need to check out their other stuff. So I was given that as a copy to listen to. And if you know me, you know I get very fixated on albums at a time. So it took me a while to get to. And it wasn't because I didn't want to listen to it. It's just it takes a while before I'm finally like, okay, it's time to listen to something new. I have to make sure I'm in the right headspace. And when I put this album on, it instantly, like first playthrough, I was hooked. Loved it. Amazing. And to this day, it's one of my top played playlist artists is, well, we've talked about before, is Blink-182. And if
Mhm.
it's not Blink-182, it's Alkaline Trio. So
Honestly, I did. I did looking back before after I said what I said about Wikipedia, and I was like, "No, it is. It's technically the 4th record because of God damn it, Maybe I'll Catch Fire, the self-titled, and then From Here to Infirmary." So Wikipedia is wrong
Mhm.
because before anyone chews me out and says anything, because yeah. But no, I'm with you. Like, for me, it was honestly a self-titled I got into, but I really fell in love with them with Good Morning. That's when I fell in love with Alkaline Trio, was during Good Morning era because it was just that was the timing. But I came back and appreciated this record. But I mean, anyone that knows me knows Alkaline Trio is just the band I love so much. I literally somewhere have a quote. It's on my other desk. I'm on this desk today, but I have a quote from Matt Skiba about how he gets out of Chicago, how he made his life better, and I keep that on my desk. Like, I have signed CDs from Alkaline Trio. I have so many things, and I wasn't from Chicago. If you ask me, I am from Chicago, but I'm from the burbs, so whatever. It's Illinois, whatever you want to say. But for me, it just is there's just such that important band. And I remember like it's why part of Alkaline Trio is why I am who I am, and also why I started the podcast because it was like, okay, if they can get out of Chicago, so can I. And like I am out of Chicago, but like not in the way Alkaline Trio is. Whatever, who cares? When I heard this record, hearing Private Eye and how dark it was, I was like, this, all right, this is my shit. Talking about like flies fucking on Channel 11 and just it wasn't pop punk, it wasn't metal, it wasn't rock, it was just Alkaline Trio, and I think to this day, they're just Alkaline Trio. Like, they were on tours with Blink, they were on the pop punk bands that were circulating around that time, but, like, Alkaline Trio is just Alkaline Trio. And I know I've said that about a million bands. I've said that about Bayside. You're gonna hear about me talk about Bayside. "Oh, nobody puts them in a box." Nobody can put this band in a box either, so I don't care, but I love Alkaline Trio so, so much, and I just love how they're dark, they're gritty, and I credit this band so much for my life, and I will forever love them, and this was definitely a record that started it, so it's incredible. I love this record. If you're not hearing this, I know everybody is, talking about When We Were Young, but, like, this record is, like, my When We Were Young, so Alkaline Trio is just such an incredible band, but I wanna find out from you, Justine, what are your favorite tracks on this? Because we have not shared well, I think we did. I think I sent you, but whatever. I have no idea what you're gonna
Oh,
say.
well, yeah. No, you shared yours. I didn't share mine though.
Yeah,
So
so I have to hear, what are your favorite tracks off this?
so my actual like favorite song by them as a whole is Take Lots with Alcohol.
Mhm.
As somebody who struggles with autism, depression, and anxiety, and now who struggles with chronic illness, this has always just felt like it would be on my life soundtrack. I think even more so today now that it also kind of reminds me of just being an undiagnosed kid. It was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Just prescribe me something, make it all stop. It still kind of is that way to this day because let me tell you, when I'm still getting diagnosis of various chronic illness, it's still kind of like that today. So this song has always struck a huge nerve and just ultimately resonates with me and it always have and it always will. And then of course, Dying Tomorrow. Despite my brain and my trauma I've endured, I've always tried to strive to be a good person. So no matter how much bad that's been done to me, I always try to strive to be the best person I can be. And that does not mean that I have not been toxic because whenever you are going through trauma and you're not healed and you are struggling, you can unintentionally cause some issues and not be a good person. But I have not like intentionally, purposely done things like as a horrible person. I try my best, and I know I'm kind of morbid thinking as well, though, that I do think about death a lot. So, of course, that kind of goes in play with that song as well. And I love Stupid Kid as someone who's been through lots of trauma, not just with relationship, but also with friendships. And just looking back and being like, yeah, I wasn't always the brightest. Like sometimes I wish I knew then what I know now, kind of things, but I love that song. It's more so now as an adult than as
Yeah.
a kid because you kind of get it a little more as an adult. Also, really love You're Dead. And this song is great. So if you have ever grieved somebody that's close to you, this song definitely resonates for
Mhm.
anybody that's gone through that. Another Innocent Girl. For one, I just love the song in general. I think it's just in general, I love the song. It's catchy, it's good. But as a woman, I feel like we all kind of have always all known at least one pretentious alcoholic in our types. And so that also very much resonates. And then, of course, last but not least, Mr. Chainsaw.
Mhm.
I love the line, it's better now to be alive. Sleeping is my 9 to 5. I'm having nightmares all the time of running out of words that rhyme. And I am somebody that's always used sleeping as a coping mechanism. For me, like now, I have multiple sleep disorders that have been diagnosed, and I suffer from nightmares that I have to take medication for. So it kind of has multiple meanings now, but I always just liked it in general, even beforehand. But ultimately, though, every single song on this album is perfect. It's one of those albums that it is very hard to pinpoint some. I almost wanted to list every single song, and then I was like, no, I cut it down a little bit and explain some. But
I agree with you with a lot of those songs because it was hard to pinpoint because once I listened to this record again, I was like, well, that's a favorite. Well, that's a favorite. Well, that's a favorite. And then I got to see this album performed in its entirety when it was before I moved. So maybe 2015.
yeah,
I'm trying to think. They did those like
I remember they
past
did the
past
album
lives.
once. Yeah,
Which shout out to Derek Grant because he got me into the last one or two that I could not get tickets to. So I got to see all 4 days, which is insane to think
that's
about that I got to
amazing.
see that. And Epitaph Records too, because I think Epitaph got me in one, he got me in one, whatever. Anyways, I was able to go to all four and it was incredible. See, and you never knew which record they were going to perform. This was
Yeah,
one when I didn't know I was going to all of them. And just to hear those albums in full, but hear From Here to Infirmary in its entirety, which some of these songs, I don't know if they've ever played or played in a long time. So it was really, really crazy to see that. And it's a favorite record. I cannot express how much I love this band and this record. And I don't care if people are just gonna say because, "Oh, you're from Illinois," or, like, "From Chicago," whatever you want to say. I don't care.
listen,
It
okay.
is this album
Being
is
from
incredible.
Illinois, we don't have a lot of great artists to be
No.
able to be like, they're from our area.
Well
So, like, you can fight me.
alright, back then, like, right, like, obviously, we have Smashing
Yeah,
Pumpkins, Rise Against them, Fall Out Boy, but it depends, though. I think for the time too, like, yeah, we didn't really have because, yeah, I love Smashing Pumpkins, but, like, how many kids maybe our age, like, we did, but there were a lot of
we
people
did,
that didn't
but
care. They didn't care.
there's a lot of people
Disturbed. Yeah, there's another one, but,
Is
like
this Disturbed from Chicago? I didn't even know
yeah,
that.
yeah, they're
That's
from
funny.
Chicago, so it's like for my favorite ones, I had to go again, Private Eye, because the lyrics I like I was saying earlier, I watched Fly
It's a good
Fuck
one.
on Channel 11,
Yeah.
and I mean, among the other lyrics on this track, it's just has always been a favorite, and especially when, like, Matt Skiba does that thing where he's like, don't lie," and, like, live, he does that, so, like or he did, I don't know, I haven't seen them in forever, but for that, I just feel like that track was, like, the quintessential kinda creepy track, Stupid Kid because it's one of those tracks again, as a teen, it was just so incredible, and I just think hearing this, it was so relatable, and I think if you ask any Alkaline Trio fan, they love the song. You obviously loved it, I loved it.
Yeah.
If I ask anybody else, this is gonna be on their top tier. I made, like, a little reel about, like, top songs, and again, somebody not gave me crap, but they were like, "Oh, you didn't put Radio," and I'm like, "Oh, how could I forget Radio?" But that's not on this record, but it is a great song.
Yeah.
But this is just one of those records that's so so important. And then we have You're Dead, because again, if you feel like that grief or
Mhm.
loss, but it's also like the Chicago lyric, because if assholes could fly, this place would be busier than
I love that
O'Hare.
one.
And it's just the way Matt Skiba sings it too, that I love it so much. But if you've lost somebody, and again, hearing this played live was just, it hit in so many different ways, and I just love it so much, and every time I hear it, I have to hit the repeat button. It's so good. Another track I love is Crawl, and this one is one of my top 10 Alkaline Trio songs. I just love Dan's voice in it. It's one of my favorite tracks they've ever done, and Dan just steals the show on this song, and I think that's one of the things I love about Alkaline Trio is the fact that they have Matt Skiba, but they have Dan Andriano,
Mhm.
who they both have incredible voices, and, I mean, obviously, everybody says too, Dan sounds like Elvis Costello. I never was a big Elvis Costello fan, but when I
I'm
went
not a fan of Elvis. I never really connected that, but okay.
but when I went back and listened to Elvis Costello, yes. But I think it's just one of those songs that live, it always has been my favorite. I absolutely love it, and I think it just is a very underrated song by some people that may only know the hits of Alkaline Trio, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Dan and Matt together is just heaven, and I love their friendship, and I love that they're still in it as much as I know Derek had to take a back seat, and absolutely you have to for your mental
Yeah.
health and everything. I am so happy that Matt and Dan are still together and it's still them, and I know they're playing in Chicago coming up in September, but or no, my gosh, Chicago. See, sometimes I still think I'm back in Chicago. They're playing in New
We've been talking about
Jersey.
Chicago a lot, to be fair.
They're playing in New Jersey, but it's the weekend at Riot Fest, and I'm still not sure what I'm doing, so I'm trying to wait and see that, but I need to see them. Take Lots with Alcohol too. That was another one of mine because it's always just been a favorite. And again, I gravitate for it, especially when Dan's like, "Hello, what the hell am I doing here?" Like, there's something about the way he sings that, and again, I think I just gravitated towards the song because of that, but I think it's just such a fun Alkaline Trio song, and again, I don't know how they feel about these songs now, like, if they sing them now and how, their age and if they've aged well for them to sing them, but for me as a fan, this is absolutely a favorite. I would love to see it and hear it again and sing it in my 30s, but I don't know how they feel, but for me, this is, like, such a great one, and I had to obviously the last one, I had to go with Armageddon because at first I didn't have this one, but I think it just starts off with the drums and then just going into it is just the quintessential Alkaline Trio song. And it's something about I'll always remember when I've seen this play at the Metro where they would play in Chicago all the time. I mean, Justine, but like some people may not. They're listening, but like it's one of those venues that's so special, and especially to Alkaline Trio history, but whenever I've seen them play it and they play it, everyone just goes to the front during Armageddon, and it just is you're singing Armageddon, and it just hits, and again, maybe I'm thinking of my memories now with it, but even back then, I love Armageddon. I think it's an underrated song, and I just adore it, and I think listening back to this record, I just love it so much. I think that if you haven't heard this record, you have to go back. And I highly suggest this record. It's so, so good. And I know when everybody's talking about their favorite records, maybe they don't talk about Alkaline Trio, but Alkaline Trio is one of the most important bands that we have. I think they've stuck around. They just released an incredible record back this January and it's so good, and it's right where they left off, and I love them. And I mean, I don't know, Justine, do you have any other thoughts on Alkaline Trio?
No, other just than they're amazing, and I kinda hope that they're gonna be one of those bands that just keep going until they're just, like, not physically able to be on stage anymore.
Oh, uh, same. Like, I hope I'm at least another 10 years and I'm going to see Alkaline Trio. I think it always was that tradition to go see them play. And now that like I
Yes.
haven't in a while, it's like, oh man, I need my fix. So that's why I'm really, really hoping that I'm able to go see them play. But
Yeah,
I don't
I really
know.
need to see them in a, like, headline position because I've only ever seen them at festivals, so I really need to get to a, like,
Ooh.
actual headlining show at some point.
Their headlining shows are so much fun and they're just so good. And that's why like I tell people that too. If you've ever seen them at a festival and you
Yeah.
maybe thought, "Oh, they're not great," because I've heard people say that.
Like, I feel like in general, it should be like a rule that if you love a band, you haven't really truly seen them unless it's a headlining show because festivals, like, they're fun, but it's not the same as if you're going to see them, like, strictly for them. And I recommend that with any kind of band. Like, it doesn't matter who they are, like, you have to make sure that you go and see them for a headlining show.
Like, we also I know we touched on it earlier, but they're just such an important band to us, and I think so many people maybe don't think about them as the like, an important band. They think about these bigger bands like My Chem or, even Fall Out Boy, or, like, they think about these bands that they think a little higher on a scale than Alkaline Trio, and I just think Alkaline Trio, they're just so important, and I fight for them all the time,
Yeah,
and
I feel like,
I've met Matt
um
Skiba once, or not once, I thought a couple times, but the one time I met
yeah.
him, I don't know if I said this, but, like, I was in a cafe a long time ago in Chicago, in case anyone's just a new listener, but and they were recording This Addiction, and they were at Pick Me Up Cafe in Chicago, which was like a vegan vegetarian place. Of course, they would be there, but they were there and I didn't get to see him. And then I won tickets to go see them and I wanted a meet and greet. And Matt Skiba made a point to ask what my name was. He was so kind and don't even get me started on Derek Grant. Dan Andriano, I haven't had too many like interactions with, but he's been so nice. But like between Derek Grant, Matt Skiba, and Dan, and I'm sure Adam Willard is amazing, who's now in the band, but they are just so special to me because they were so kind to me and even though, like, Matt Skiba always thought my name was Elisa because I got nervous. Instead of Elisa, I said Elisa.
It's the
So
best.
anytime he saw me in a meet and greet, he said, "Hi, Elisa." And I never corrected him to this day. So to this day, I'm
I
Elisa.
wouldn't either.
No, I've never corrected. But it's just they're so important. And I think so many people, I don't know, maybe
What I
they
love
overlook them in the
about,
scene.
like, I love about this, I love that there's a resurgence that's been happening, but I think what we really need to do is to really highlight these bands more so that the new generations have not noticed yet. And I definitely think that Alkaline Trio is a big one that we really need to make sure that young kids in the scene know about because I think that once they discover them, they will just be like absolutely obsessed with them like we were back in the day and still are. But I've noticed that a lot when the resurgence is that it's usually always the same few bands. And yeah, I would like to see them discover more that we loved back in the day because I think there's a lot more that they need to find and put out there, and I think they really love them.
I totally agree with that because like the newer bands that people or the older ones that the newer fans are getting into, I don't hear
Yeah.
people talk about Alkaline Trio enough, and
Yeah.
we need more people talking about them. And I know this episode was also important to do because part of it is my fiance is just tired of hearing me gush about bands like this, and so the podcast listeners get to hear it. But I would love to know from other people how Alkaline Trio has made an impact, what you love, what you love about this record. Maybe you slept on this record, maybe you didn't like it, maybe you forgot about it. What do you like about From Here to Infirmary? Because it's just so good. Like I know we talk about Good Morning and we should, and that is like one of the top tier of all
Yeah.
Alkaline Trio records. But
For me, for sure, this one is a solid 2 at least. If not, I feel like it's tied for the most part with Good Morning, if people don't realize. It's so good and it's just as dark, like, I feel like that's what makes Good Morning tend to overshadow it. It's just because Good
mhm,
Morning was when they really started doing the suits and
yes.
really going and running rampant with the Satanist, myth
Yeah, the
about them.
Anton
Uh
LaVey stuff.
but at the same time, it was still there. It was still coded in this album, so I feel like if you never gave it it fully like a listen or you didn't commit to it as well, you need to go back and listen to it because it's just as dark. Like literally just listen to Take Lots with Alcohol and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about and why that's one of my all-time favorite Alkaline songs. So
Oh, yeah, and I mean, too, if anyone even thinks about this too, like, I know we're not talking about it, but my all-time favorite record personally is Maybe I'll Catch Fire. I love that is a dark record too. Like, you wanna talk about, like, them getting into that and that theme and those themes, Maybe I'll Catch Fire is again, I know we're not talking about that record, but somebody please, if you're listening to this, I would love to talk about that record. It's my all-time favorite. The song "Tuck Me In Alone," that song, not "Tuck Me In Alone," but that song alone. Because someone again, I just always think like someone's gonna come for me if I, because 'cause I'm a girl and talking about that, but "Tuck Me
let's
In."
face it, people are gonna come for us no matter what
Yeah,
because we're girls talking
yeah.
music. But
Um,
yeah.
but God, I just love this band. I love them so much, and again, I hope you enjoyed this episode a little bit. We decided to break it up a little bit because sometimes it's just fun and it's fun to get on and talk about records and yeah. And if you're also, looking for some new podcasts, I'll shout out a couple. I want to do that. We have Our Space with obviously Matt Batiste, who we love so much. Their top 8 with TJ, our wonderful guest too, the Matt Batiste. They have a wonderful A Day to Remember episode that just dropped. Check out the Emo Social Club. Check them out. And she's with the band too. That's a really good one. So check out those, and we will see you guys next week with a great conversation. We might be dropping 2 episodes. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to figure it out. I might because we have a lot of guests and a lot of cool things. And if you guys know a band or you are a band listening to this and you haven't come on yet, check us out. Hit us up. Justine or I up.
Yeah.
We would love to have
We
you on.
love we love getting messages of people that really wanna come on. So
Yeah. Like
don't be shy.
no, and I promise it's fun and we don't suck. I promise that. It's fun, we don't suck, and we try to make it fun for everybody because, I mean, you have to. I know it's not easy to come on a podcast, but I promise it's fun. But we will see you guys next Tuesday. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.